Hello and welcome to another episode of Restrung. My name is Sonder, your extremely average club player. And guys, the drama continues. The upsets continue at Miami. Seb Korda conquers Carlos Alcaraz in what was a really high quality match. Seb Korda is someone who we here at the podcast revere very highly. Someone who, in a lot of ways, has kind of underachieved so far in his career. Someone who, not unlike others, has had progress up the rankings stifled because of injury. But someone who we've seen, especially when he gets into the ring with the top players in the world. And we saw this with Novak Djokovic and I believe it was Auckland only a few years ago. How Seb Korda, when he turns it on, can be and should be one of the best baseliners in the game. He's very compact, he's very stable, nice fluid swings, and it all looks very easy. And the power is almost effortless. So let's dive into the match a little bit. Really, the scoreline flatters, Seb Korda did not. And it shows the scoreline a little bit deceiving because Korda switched off for really 10 minutes in that match, and that was towards the end of set 2, where you thought the occasion and what he was on the brink of was just perhaps a little bit too much for him. But he obviously quickly regained that composure with that early break in the third set and was able to ultimately, with a little bit of turbulence here or there, see it through to his second ever win over Carlos Alcaraz. And you gotta wonder, how far can Korda go? Because if you look at his draw, there's nobody immediately that you have to say he doesn't stand a chance against that player. So it'll be interesting to see his progress through, because if he's able to keep serving at the standard he served at during that match, he's able to back it up with solid ground strokes, staying fairly close to the baseline, effortless ground strokes, minimizing the unforced error. And it was interesting what he said in the post-match interview. And he said that he and his team, his coaching team, Ryan Harrison, that his big thing was not trying to do too much, playing average, not hitting the ball, not trying to do too much with it, overplay, and ultimately have that lead to errors. And you gotta say, Korda, you could see that, because every so often in the past you've seen Korda potentially try and do a bit too much, try and overhit and the balls fly. But a sensational match, especially when you consider that at the beginning of the match and in certain parts during that match, certainly end of the second set as well, Carlos was looking pretty good. Was he at his absolute top best peak? No. But if you look at the highlights in particular, he had some amazing shots, and particularly, the lob was working. In fact, I don't know if I've ever seen him hit the lob like he did yesterday, or like he did in that match. It was back to the Andy Murray on grass court lob show, maybe even better. And you sense kind of about 5, 6 games into the opening set, that wasn't perhaps in the best mental state. Was a bit irritated, long conversations with his box. And then he had a sequence of good shots, real kind of improvised Carlitos tennis. And you thought the smile was back, the crowd was into it, and that would kind of galvanize him to regain his composure in whatever it was. And then Korda strikes with the first break that he would ultimately take through to the opening set victory. And obviously these are the little micro narratives that we love to pick up on, especially on this show, because it's just so fascinating to see the development of a season. Alcaraz, obviously perfect for the first 16 matches of this year, comes a cropper only at the hands of an inspired Danny Medvedev, and now obviously has lost 2 of his last 3 matches. Not necessarily because he played poorly, but for someone who seemed so invincible at the Australian Open, especially in Doha, it's just massively interesting. And it also shows how quickly tennis can flip, because now you're in a situation where Sinner on Monday has the opportunity to set the record for most consecutive sets won at Masters 1000 level. And that's huge, especially because when you think what people were saying about him just a couple of weeks ago, and not just that, but yes, he still is on course to complete potentially the Sunshine Double, which still is perhaps one of the biggest challenges on tour. So we watch to see how Carlos transitions into the clay court season, I think we still stick by our assertion on the podcast that for the past 2 tournaments that he's seemed a little bit sluggish, a little bit tired for his incredible standards. So we'll see how that develops and how he potentially has to manage his body, or even if there's a potential niggle that hasn't been disclosed to us. But interesting times, and of course he didn't go down swinging without some incredible tennis along the way, some incredible winners. Korda showing everyone just what he is capable of.